Let's have some fun. Let's go.
Become strangely civilizationally important to some people, with all manner of weird and wild arguments being made that seem to be trying to convince themselves more than other people. That congratulations, we finally made a woke movie that made money. That's important for some reason. Like, at the same time...
But big shot professors are telling us the movie's not woke, so which one is it? Which one is it? And by the way, the money part is irrelevant. I can disagree with a message, and I can think that a movie is doing something that I personally find to be unreasonable and unjust, with all the race swap, the manipulation, the changing, the looking down at Homer. The fact that he makes money doesn't change anything. You know who else made money? Hitler's commanders, the generals, the upper elite of the Nazi regime made a lot of money. Does that make what they did a success? Does it make it morally perfect? Since when being a millionaire takes away from any criticism? It doesn't matter that the movie made money, by the way.
Nolan came out and said he couldn't adapt the poem properly because it was misogynistic. I mean, he didn't want to take it off the table what it was saying deconstructing men. He just didn't want to adapt the end of the poem because that had something to say about women. You combine that with the Odyssey's epic box office haul breaks the go woke, go broke myth. Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey defeats the trolls. Because now if you have taste in media or don't like Christopher Nolan being another woke Hollywood lunatic, somehow that makes you a troll. Funny definition of troll, by the way.
Yeah, let's go. I freaking love this guy. All right, now we're talking. What's the definition of troll?
Someone who leaves intentionally annoying or offensive message on the internet in order to upset someone or to get attention or cause trouble. In other words, they're using it to just mean, why won't you go along with the hive mind? Everyone else has agreed we should destroy society. Why don't you? That is the level of argumentation based around the Odyssey at this moment.
I love this, man.
Because it's seen by the lowest common denominator, and so that's the person making the argument. It literally boils down to, well, all these people like it, and you wouldn't want to not be a member of the herd, would you? You wouldn't want to have your own independent opinion. You wouldn't dare to disagree with the masses. Well, like, it really says more about the commentators making this kind of argument than anyone else. The anti-woke mob picked the wrong fight with the Odyssey.
You see, people that say this make me want to never stop. I know they're doing it because they're trying the shaming tactic. You know, they use it with me when they say, you made like 65 videos about it. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? I'm like, no. And in fact, if anything, the shaming tactics, for me, do the exact opposite. The more you try to shame me, oh, you should be ashamed of yourself. Okay, I'll do it 50 times more then. How about that?
You understand you're not part of the sheeple. I'm a social consensus machine. I can't comprehend why anyone would disagree with the masses. How do you have the balls? Oh, sorry, really answered my own question there. The Odyssey's critical and box office success has completely broken online chuds who forgot Twitter isn't real life. For a start, Twitter is real life. Like, it genuinely is. Twitter has real people on it posting real things. They don't go online and state different things that aren't their opinion. They believe the same.
Well, some people do, to be fair, some people do it on purpose because you make money off of it, right? So they will post something stupid. But yeah, I agree with him. It's like reality without a filter, because keyboard warriors would never dare to say the stuff they say on Twitter in front of someone. They're cowards, but on the internet they can do it. There's anonymity. I agree that there is a layer of reality when it comes to social media, not just Twitter. You know what else is a good representation of reality? Freaking Blue Sky. It shows you the demons among us.
Same things on Twitter as in real life. You could argue it's a biased sample of real life and therefore isn't representative of all the worldviews.
Well, of course.
But you'll also find nothing is. It's basically going, well, water isn't a drink. No, it is. You just can't say it's all drinks. Go woke, go broke. The Odyssey sails to massive opening weekend despite the racist phobic backlash.
Isn't that insane when, like, you make someone like me, right? I'm a very mild individual at the end of the day, except from when my diluted pizza sauce that is my blood boils. That does happen sometimes. But in general, I'm a monkey morphine. And so what I will say, I've never said anything racist in my entire life. Although then again, people think that me saying Helen of Congo is racist. I don't concern myself with idiots who overuse the racist victim card. Doesn't matter to me. But I'm saying my real racism, real hatred and poison, I'd never do it. It's just not me. It's not my personality. With that being said, isn't it interesting that all I'm asking for is, can we be honest and for once maybe treat everyone the same, so we don't only race swap one group while saying that white people bad? Now, how about we don't do that? How about we don't race swap black, we don't race swap white, and we do a little bit of equality of treatment? Because they can never address the point, then they go with the buzzwords, which means victory at an intellectual level.
That's right. The lesson which is being learned from the Odyssey is that you can employ completely incompetent people that are utterly awful in their roles and still make money. They think that's a win. Look,
You know, it's weird because I wouldn't even consider. I know it's a DEI casting, but I don't think in this case that Lupita Nyong'o Spanakopita. I don't think she's incompetent. I don't think she will ever be Helen of Troy, though, because that's not how Helen of Troy was imagined by the original people. Just like I will never be Shaka Zulu, no matter how much I try, no matter how skilled I am. In this case, I think the actors were good at what they were doing, but the DI component is not because of their lack of skills, but the DI in this case is simply because we have to race swap. We have to do it. So yeah, we got people who have skill, but they weren't chosen because they would represent the roles well. They were chosen because we have a quota. On last chat, Arch puts forth the Odyssey is accidentally right-wing in a similar way to Barbie. Occasionally being accidentally, sure, there are some areas that did happen, I said that. So if his argumentation is the accidental, but in general, the overall message is not right-wing. Can we be honest about this? Let's continue.
the audience guzzled down the trash we gave them this time.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll do that again. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? Yeah, this used to work for Marvel too. But this is why in any kind of statistical analysis, you don't look at one example, you look at an ongoing trend over a period of time.
Of
and we
course.
kind of worked out what that trend is over the last 10 years. The Odyssey backlash failed tremendously. All the people that for years have been going, well, you can't actually commentate on something unless you've seen it. You can't judge something off the trailers, you can't judge it off the marketing. You've got to go and see the movie before you can judge it. So then people went to see the movie so they can judge it, and they went, see. They went
Man, that is so true.
to see the movie. That means it's good. I mean, you'll have to forgive me if I look at all the people that confidently tout about how nuanced they are. I don't really put much stock in their analysis, which is the equivalent of a 3-year-old's dissertation. Now, obviously, I don't care about the masses' opinion of a movie because I'm not the masses. I'm the guy that says Willow and She-Hulk are amazing entertainment.
There's a hot chick over there. I'm gonna go talk to it.
Sprinkle it on my bum and make my gentle wind smell like cinnamon.
I'm the guy that absolutely adored reviewing Robin Hood. He's the best thing in the show. He's the best thing in the show. I looked at Milf Manor and thought, all you people should be in prison.
I landed on a grandma and she liked it.
I mean, when was that, yesterday?
I got pink eye from ass.
How did I end up in this situation? I was in
Oh
a restaurant
my
and got with a
God.
stranger in the bathroom.
That's giving Kelly vibes.
You know, treat that like that's Kelly. She's a... All I'm saying is no one comes to me because they want their mainstream opinion on media. But at the same time that everyone is celebrating just how woke the Odyssey is. And even Christopher Nolan's coming out and confirming it. We have Emily Wilson, the person who wrote the modern woke translation that this movie is based on. And, well, it's too woke for her. Even she doesn't like the movie. All I'm saying is if you can take the person that dedicated years of their life to subverting the poem, to create a new modern version, to impose her morality on the work, then I'm not exactly sure this is a long-term strategy for satisfying audiences into the future. Because Emily Wilson said,
presents us with an Odysseus who feels very bad about certain things that he's done in war and is struggling to process them in a very, I would say, very modern, psychiatrized way.
this is absolutely true. The Odyssey turns Odysseus into just a depressed loser, deconstructs all masculinity, basically makes him very feminine himself, and
Doesn't that sound extremely right-wing to you guys?
so he has to go to therapy and just gets addicted to SSRIs. Even at the end of the movie when he sails off into the sunset, I get the impression that he's going to audition for The View.
And he seems to feel
Goldberg, let's go.
bad about being a warrior, and we never actually get to see him doing much warrioring, which I thought in a way was a bit of a shame.
This is the feminist complaining that the man isn't enough of a butch warrior.
Bro, we gotta, this is a simulation. It has to be. I can't believe this is reality. It's woke, but it's also not woke at the same time. So it's woke because we debunked the myth, but it's not woke because how dare you say it's woke? Oh my gosh.
And is too weak and pathetic for her to actually enjoy him in the movie.
There's a tolerance for ambiguity in the world of the Odyssey, which I don't think there exactly is in the world of Hollywood blockbuster action film, right?
Yeah.
Is that he has to make the protagonist a likable all-American hero.
This is a position that I disagree on, because Odysseus isn't turned into a likable all-American hero in this. In fact, it's the opposite. He takes all the sort of American hero values and strips him of them. Traditional masculine heroism is removed from this movie intentionally. Nolan even cuts out the ending because it would have turned him into that hero. The message at the end of the Odyssey of killing the suitors and the handmaids is that when people come and they walk over you, they take advantage of you, they exploit your weakness for their own personal gain, you don't just dish out justice on those people as they deserve, but you also hold the women who sided with them and aided them accountable as well. It was...
Oh, you know what? When it comes to that, because I've been saying that on X, I was saying, but look, this is one thing they did change, and they changed it because, in a way, they were not okay with looking at, because in the original text, both the suitors and the handmaidens that stood by them, slept with the suitors, and betrayed the trust of the household, both Penelope, obviously because they thought that Odysseus was never coming home, so they're like, yeah, F it, who cares about Penelope? And they also get offed, right? And it's funny because I've even seen Matt Walsh say this, and he's right when it comes to this. It's like, but why did they remove it? They removed it because it's not okay. The people that are attacking you for saying this. Also, you actually wanted to see women being hung off top of a ceiling? Is that what you want? You're a sick psychopath. Oh, but you're okay when it's a suitor who gets his head gets split in half with a Bronze Age axe, or an arrow hits someone in the throat. It's fine. Why? Because they're male. But if it's female, you're a monster. It's not that I want to see them. In fact, if anything, tone down the violence. I have a problem with that. Remove the gore. Let it be understood. I don't care about that. I just don't understand how, if it's a woman who gets offed by Odysseus, you're the disgusting, psychotic, crazy guy who wants to see violence of women. Is that what you want? But if it's the suitors, it's fine because they're male? How does that work? How does that even make logical sense? At this point, you should be against all violence.
Actually, funnily enough, saying that they should be equally treated, that they're not above the law, and that while the genders may act differently, that doesn't mean that they don't both do things wrong and should be punished for it.
Exactly.
And then along comes Christopher Nolan, who's like, no, we can't punish half the population, that'd be wrong. This is part of what strips him of heroism.
And not only that's true, but here's what's funny, is that the idea is not, at least in the original text, the idea is not sexist. In fact, if anything, the idea is whether you be male or female is irrelevant. Did you betray Daddy Odysseus? Yes. So when he comes home, it's Bronze Age axe. Doesn't matter. It doesn't treat anyone differently. If an ancient Greek of all people from the Iron Age, because Homer is writing whatever, if they manage to be less sexist than modern Hollywood, bro, you have won a triumph golden cup. Holy moly.
The hero is the superior being who stands above the rest of the world and is willing to make the hard choices and decisions that no one else will or can. It is the answer to, who do you think you are to make these decisions? It's like, I'm the best person here.
It's a real challenge if you're basing this on a poem where the hero is not necessarily motivated by romantic love or being a nice suburban parent.
But Odysseus is those things. He is motivated by love. His entire aim is to get back home to Penelope.
But then again, even though it's crazy that I have agreed with Emily Wilson on how much Nolan trashed the original poem, I agree with her. But of course, this is the section when I'm not going to agree, because from her point of view, and I think we are not going to agree, because from her point of view, Odysseus is a womanizer in a negative sense. Well, he is a womanizer, by the way. He sleeps around. But then again, there is magic involved, so there's that. But whatever. Not justifying the guy. He shouldn't have slept around from my current perspective. Whatever. But the guy is objectifying his wife and he likes slaves, so he cannot be a hero. And I don't think he's objectifying his wife. I think he loves his wife. I think that's the message. But for a lot of feminist women, it's difficult to think that a man who is a warrior, he actually loves and respects his wife. No. Well, why not? I mean, in the original text, they are both intelligent and witty. Odysseus outsmarts lots of different people with his wits. But you know what Penelope does? She outsmarts the suitors with her stratagems, such as the fact that she has to work on her sewing and knitting to create the masterpiece. And once this masterpiece of hers is complete, then she'll get married. But she undoes her work every night, effectively making it an impossible situation. And another thing we didn't see is that when Odysseus comes home and she's not sure that it's actually him, it's been 17 freaking years, she actually tests him. And what does she say? She says, how about we move the bed? But the bed cannot be moved because it's created from an original wood tree, and so you can't move the bed. And Odysseus says, what are you talking about? You can't move the bed. And that's when she hugs him. Like, she has intelligence, she has wit, and she's the one who still managed, even though her husband was not there for so many years, she still managed to preserve power. For whom? Herself? No. In hopes of her husband's return, and in the future for her son Telemachus. That's the reality of it.
And his son, which would make him a good parent. And what you think a good parent is in the modern time is irrelevant to what was intended at the time in the poem. But being able to zoom out from his own perspective doesn't seem to be possible for Christopher Nolan.
He wants glory, and he wants to get spoils from the sack of a city.
Yes.
For who? Why do men show off? Why are there so many videos on the internet of going, this is why women live longer, and it's just men doing ridiculously risky things? Men gather resources for their family. Like, she's looking at it for...
Okay, I agree with you, Disparu, the overall message, but then again, the why women live longer, there are some guys that are actually idiots. Like the guys that are doing the parkour for clicks and then some fall. There is no like the safety net, or the guys that are doing the pranks in America where you pretend to go and stab someone. Really, when there is stand the ground laws, castle doctrine laws, Second Amendment rights, you're out of your mind. I mean, some guys are idiots. I don't think they're doing it to gather resources for their family in that case. I mean, you could argue they're doing it for money and clout, but it is stupid.
From the female perspective of social status, which is just done for themselves. Whereas men gather power, money, status, simply because if you have the better nest, you attract the better birds.
That's true. I agree with that. I'm not sure how that connects with Odysseus. I might have to actually ask him live, maybe, because at the end of the day, Odysseus did not want to go, and he had to because of the power struggle in Greece and the power of Agamemnon. But then again, I mean, Emily Wilson is a muppet. I agree, but she's making more sense than Ben Shapiro and the like, so at the end of the day, she is a muppet. But I gotta say that I agree, even if we may be on completely different ideas when it comes to masculinity, toxic masculinity, all that nonsense. But if I agree with her, I agree with her on a few things, right?
Wanting glory isn't some specifically Greek thing. It's a timeless message which is built into men genetically because it aided the survival of the species. It's how men compete. Greeks just did it by sacking a city, but just because we've changed how we get glory in modern times doesn't mean you remove the timeless message from the entertainment. Just because you can't understand it says you've got a chip on your shoulder, you're insecure. Or because that's what you want the men in society to be, so that you can weaken them. Some kind of weird intersectional competition.
You'll see what Nolan does with all of that, but it's different things from what Homer does.
Yeah, he turns Odysseus into a beard. It's almost like Christopher Nolan sat there in his office and specifically based Odysseus off Mark Ruffalo.
Right. I kept looking in vain for a sense that this was a film about glory. I think it's a film that has some interest in shame, but I don't think it has any interest in glory.
I mean, she's right. That's exactly what happened. Can we get those people on the right that keep telling us that the movie is ultra conservative? Can you guys just freaking pack it in and get back on the front lines? Or do I have to have a feminist defend conservative ideals? It's not even about politics at this point. I don't even care. I just want the ancient world to be represented as is, okay? Whoever does it gets my approval. You could be right, left, center, communist at this point. I don't know. Who's gonna do it for me? That's all I ask. That's all I ask.
The movie is based around shaming men for acting like men. It is your standard modern message that just can't comprehend masculinity. And so because Hollywood is so effeminate, it's the only thing they can understand, and anything which isn't that is deemed to be wrong. And so the only way it can become good, can become worthy, because they can't understand it, it's too complex for them. They have to degrade it and drag it down and be like, well, you should just be like me. You should stop competing. You should lower yourself to my position, and then you'll be a good boy. Now, the main problem with this is shame only works if you're
or a good girl, if you want to identify. This is a theory of mine, and if you think I'm wrong, I'm more than happy. Once again, I mean, 10 out of 10 movie. This is a child of the giants. This is not AI. It's from the movie. This is a mini rubber armor. This is the Bronze Age in terms of Nolan. So do remember that if you think that this is not 10 out of 10 cinema, you just don't get it. This, not even what I wanted to show you, but I'm going to show this image to every single one who gives it a 10 out of 10. But I do want to show you, share a little theory, and maybe if Disparu, if you watch this and you want to tell me if you agree or not, the fact that Nolan went with the disfigured Helen, which once again is not present in the original text. So not only Helen is the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen of Congo, but she's disfigured. Why? Well, because Menelaus does this to her. There's the scene. Now, who is Menelaus? Remember, who is he? John Berthel. Now, John Berthel has one thing about him. That is, you know what that is? Is that he's not black. To me, he looks like a white guy. I know that there are some people who say, no, he's Jewish. I don't care. He's not black is my point. So, because he's not black, then he can be used as the abusive husband that abused the minority victim wife. Interestingly enough, in the original story, hear me out, this is my theory, what does Menelaus do? In some accounts, they don't tell us. In other accounts, he forgives Helen and takes her back and honors her. He takes her back, he forgives her. It's like, I get it. Trojan Prince was all, I get it. I didn't treat you right. I get so, good guy. Can you have a good guy who have a skin tone that looks like this in Hollywood? No. This is why they wanted to show, first, the interracial marriage because they need to push that. But not that I have anything against freedom, but I am annoyed when people then tell us white people need to have less babies, or, oh, we should make more babies with the immigrants since there are people that push this. Then it annoys me. Otherwise, I don't give a... It's a free society. Marry whoever you want. I mean, in theory, my wife is a foreigner to me. She's of Irish and German descent, and I'm an Italian. In other words, I'm a Roman who conquered a barbarian. Thank you very much. But I'm saying I don't care who you marry. I don't care. But this is the message. But the real message was they wanted her to be the victim because the wife and the husband is the abuser. And this is why Menelaus was not black. They couldn't. Because if you cast a black actor in a role like this, then you gotta go with the nice husband. That's what I think. You can tell me I'm wrong. Maybe I'm seeing things, but I'm seeing them because of a pattern.
Period. It is exclusively something that you do punching down. Shame doesn't work unless you have some kind of high ground. I don't want to look at you, but like, why would I want to become you? I have to respect you before you can shame me. It's why you look at the character Odysseus in the movie, and he's kind of just a repulsive character. Because there is nothing to him. There's no reason he should be leading these people. There's nothing here worthy of respect because he is rudderless. He has no aims, no goals. He's not trying
What does rudderless mean? I don't know that word.
to achieve anything. He's not driven by anything. His entire message is, I don't want to go home. It's like, well, piss off then. Let's go make a movie where we actually follow a man for once, shall we?
But it is very much in tune with things that Nolan has been obsessed with his whole career.
This is also something that Daniel Mendelsohn noticed. A speech about his regret of Troy, for some reason. Yeah, this is the greatest moment of my life, but I'm supposed to care about my enemies. As this resounding speech echoed in my ears, it occurred to me it was nothing like the heroes of Homer, but looked like the heroes of Christopher Nolan movies. Tormented, guilt-ridden Odysseus, stripped of humor, wit, seductiveness, and cleverness. You know, everything makes character...
At that point, much better Odysseus in Troy. He was witty. Do you remember the scene? I remember it very clearly because I actually rewatched Troy yesterday. It was a lot of fun. Achilles, fantastic. Helen of Troy, excellent casting. And I know I'm going to piss off people, but she's German. Still closer to a Mediterranean than a black African. If you can't admit that basic biological phenotypical truth, you're far too far gone in the brainwashing at this point. It's a reality. To know that what I'm saying is true, so any other white European would be closer to a Mediterranean than black Africans, phenotypically. It's easy to prove. Would you have a problem casting someone from Congo to play someone from Nigeria? No, you wouldn't. Why? Because even though they are not exactly the same, in fact, black people have a lot of phenotypic diversity, genetically, but phenotypically. It's still close enough. And definitely closer than casting a Scandinavian to play said Nigerian. This is obvious. There's nothing racist about it. There is nothing hateful about it. Well, there is something hateful. I hate race swapping. I always have. At least I'm being consistent, differently from, Ben Shapiro.
It is good. It's a sibling of Memento's anguished amnesiac, of Batman, of Oppenheimer. Men agonized by their pasts as they wrestle with in different ways. Nolan acknowledged that the Odyssey he saw as your text. It's in everything I've done before. He's a one-note wonder. Now, the way he gets around this is from hopping from IP to IP. Yeah. This might be a flaw in superhero genres as a whole, that you have Marvel and DC, and so you link all of those things together, which allows people to build up a trend. Whereas if Hollywood had been skipping from thing to thing, if it had kept creating new things, new ideas, then maybe it would have allowed them to hide these ideas a lot better. Maybe people wouldn't have had time to build up a trend, to notice the way things were going. That actually, if you do keep creating new movies, if you make something an event, if you dress it up in a little bit of a confusing way, to make people think that they're watching something smarter than it is, then maybe you can slip it by them for a lot longer. Although my point of view is still that because these messages aren't satisfying to humanity, that you need men to go to the cinema and the men want masculinity reaffirmed, that the new modern version of it is nothing but femininity. And so unless you do come out and just openly praise and celebrate, reinforce the ideas of hierarchy, competitiveness, justice, and giving people what they deserve, then actually people getting bored of your stories is inevitable, no matter how many tricks you may be able to drag out to extend the life force of the cinema for a few...
You know what's interesting? The boring part has been a comment that several people said, now given the last hour, objectively, is more entertaining and it's better made. The first hour, however, is dragging really badly in the movie. I'm being objective here. And this is the thing, though. The people that said, oh my gosh, it was so boring, then their ideas, their opinion, as someone who watches, nothing even to do with culture war. It's just that you don't get it. And you get this extremely condescending level of elitism, of people looking down on you. Oh, it's just that you're not sophisticated enough to really understand the genius I got bored. I don't even have to use my intellect. Is it fun or is it boring?
But it was interesting that Emily Wilson didn't seem to like the film. If it's based on your translation, if it takes a lot of inspiration from you, then you should like it. But Emily Wilson still liked the poem. She wanted to keep the poem and the events similar. What she did was change wording to put a different spin on things.
True.
So with her, it focused way more on the gender of stuff than the deconstruction of Odysseus himself.
Being female doesn't in itself guarantee that you'll have a distinctively female or feminine perspective in any noticeable way. Women can be misogynistic perfectly easily, but many women aren't feminists. Many women haven't thought about gender whatsoever.
Like, there's still stuff in there where she's like, no, I think you should know that this guy is wrong. But that same glory that he would get from sacking cities, to her, would be something that he should be ashamed of in itself. Whereas that's not enough for Nolan. Nolan has to really hammer you in the face with the obvious message. Because, well, Emily Wilson's was aimed at sort of university students, and so she can rely on sort of a uniform cultural knowledge.
Bro, I swear, I don't think I've gone through university back in the day. I'm talking now 20 plus years ago, 25 years ago, went through the university system. And I'm so glad that at the time, at least, I didn't see any politics. But the current university lectures, I don't think I could stomach them. Like maybe math, but anything that is either on the humanities, philosophy, history, all of that, I couldn't stomach it. It's impossible. It is a continuous propagandistic message and it's one directional. I don't think I could do it, guys. I really couldn't. I imagine it's the same in Italy too at this point. Maybe not at the same level as the UK and plenty of colleges in America, but it's really getting to a point where can I just get the facts? And even when I said maybe maths or hard sciences are still free, but not really, because we've been told that math is racist. So it's really a infectious disease that is spreading everywhere. Look at progressive Christianity. Where are we even going with that? How can you convince a feminist woman to support Islam? The two things are mutually exclusive. You can have a person who is of an Islamic tradition, but maybe they grew up in the West at this point, and so they still believe in Islam because they were taught it, but they have been so westernized that they're like, no, I have no problem with women. I think women should be open. Yeah, of course they exist. I have seen feminist women defending the burqa, defending the fact that there are plenty of women in the most strict Islamic countries. Not all countries act the same or enact Sharia law the same way. We understand that. But I've seen them defend all of that. I thought you were about women, independence of women, power to women. Well, that is the opposite of what you're defending. When it comes to propaganda, and to be fair, this happens on all sides of propaganda. Once you reach propaganda, and it happens with religions too, and I'm a religious man, it shuts down the logical brain completely. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter anymore because you've built so many layers of justification that are baked into any propagandistic system, whether it be the ones used by the European totalitarian powers of the 20th century, the Axis and whatnot. It doesn't matter what kind of propaganda it is, but propaganda is a powerful tool. And when used effectively, it does that. It shuts down critical thinking of any form. And again, it can be used by extremism within religious spheres. And it can be done, for instance, the godless state of communist Russia. The levels of propaganda, I'll give them that though. I liked the font that they used. If you look at like 1950s propaganda that they used in Russia, the font was kind of cool. That was it. It's awful. It was hell on earth. That's what the USSR was, and particularly under Stalin, to be honest. I think that was the worst possible. Mao, though, the numbers of death by starvation are insane. Whether you believe in the highest ones, when they say it's 70 million, whether you maybe you'll be like, no, I don't think it's 70 million, that exaggerates 45 million. Bro, even if it's 10 million, who cares? It's unbelievable. The numbers are insane. And for people to justify that and think, no, but I think it's good, there is a reason to it, I gotta defend it. How? Because it's the power of propaganda. It shuts down critical thinking because it destroys the individual and you become part of the collective. This is exactly what Benito Mussolini did with his doctrine of fascism that he wrote together with Giovanni Gentile. They tell you the individual is nothing. The individual doesn't matter. You're all part of the state. Everything is the state. So the individual is allowed to think, function, and even enrich themselves only in as much as the state can benefit from it. In the split second that an individual has a difference of opinion, you know what happens. It's the same thing. The fascist squads, Auschwitz, well, for the Nazi, to be honest, when it comes to, and I know this because it's linked to my family history, when it comes to the Nazis, they would use Dachau rather than Auschwitz as a concentration camp for politically problematic people. I know that because my grandfather ended up in Dachau. Why did he end up in Dachau? Because he was a military officer and he refused to obey to basically align himself with the fascists. He rejected them. He didn't like the regime. So he stood up. And what they did is that the fascist officers arrested him and they gave him to the Nazis. The Nazis took him and they took him to Dachau. Why? Because he had a spark of individualism. That's what happened. That's the reality. It's a true story.
That she knows those people will have her opinions on things. And so she can leave the events how they are without telling them how to think about it, because they will all have that same opinion. Nolan didn't have that. Nolan's movie was going out to the world, a whole broad range of people with different opinions. And that means there's a danger if you present an action without telling the audience how to feel about it, because they might misinterpret that action from how you intend and think it's good.
There's a tolerance for ambiguity in the world of the Odyssey, which I don't think there exactly is in the world of Hollywood blockbuster action film.
This has actually happened at the end of the movie, where a lot of people have missed all this commentary about, we need to find a way to kill them without breaking Zeus's law, that actually he made them attack him first. Instead, they just go and see it as the same base message from the poet himself. They think he just went in there and wiped them out. A lot of people took the wrong message from that scene, which is why throughout the rest of the movie, he deliberately deconstructs Odysseus. He makes sure that you cannot misinterpret what he's telling you about this useless twat. I think it's this explicit nature why this movie has been boosted beyond all reality and far beyond any praise it could possibly have deserved. Like all the things about like calling this a masterpiece.
Every time that I hear the word masterpiece now, I'm gonna do this, and there is nothing anyone can do to stop me. 10 out of 10 masterpiece. 10 out of 10 masterpiece. Ladies and gentlemen, 10 out of 10. This is not even reenactors are better. This is Halloween costumes are better than the mask. But it's because you don't get it.
So many obvious problems with this movie that it doesn't really matter which side of the fence you sit on. You should be able to look at this and go, it's definitely not a 10.
True. Be fair. It's also not a 0. Unless we are giving like a score to the political messaging, then it's absolutely a 0. 0 out of 10. If I'm scoring what they did to the Greeks, the race swaps, and all the rest. But that aside, as a movie, it's not a 10. You're a lunatic, but it's not a 0 either. You have to be real. Because if I call it a 0 out of 10, then what I'm doing is that I'm not just disrespecting Nolan, which he deserves, and I will continue, no matter what, Nolan. But you're also disrespecting people that maybe were there, like the technical aspects, that the people that actually animated with the special effects, with the changing of humans into pigs. That was pretty well done. I'm gonna say it. It was well done. It's mid. It's a mid experience, maybe slightly above mid because of the Cyclops, but that's it. 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, absolutely not. But also it's not a 0 out of 10. Again, the only time I'll give it a 0 out of 10 is if you ask me, but what about the race swaps and the politics? Okay, then 0 out of 10. Lupita Nyong'o will never be Helen of Troy. She will always be Helen of Congo, and so 0 out of 10 because of that. But objectively, we look at the cinematography, the lighting. The costumes are awful, but they did get the swords right. And in fact, I had a disagreement with a friend of mine, Shad, when we were guests at both Nerdrotic but also Critical Drinker and Open Bar, and then Shad was saying that the weapons were bad, and I told him, Shad, I disagree with that. They actually, they did the hilt and the sword that Odysseus is using. It's a perfect example of a real sword of that period exactly that was found in Ithaca. I need to be able to say that, because if I only say all weapons are trash, but what about the truth? Just because I'm mad at Nolan, I am mad at Nolan. Did I make that one clear? I am absolutely mad at Nolan. But the sword was great. The sword was done right.
Not a masterpiece. Unless you're getting wrapped up by the fact that, oh, this was filmed on film. That you sat in a 70mm IMAX screen and simply got blown away by the experience of it all. That it became an event for you, rather than the actual content of the movie itself.
Right.
It's why I will be very interested to see if people's opinions hold about this movie as it goes on to streaming, as they start watching it at home, on smaller screens.
I'm not rewatching it. Not even, like, someone would have to pay me $10,000 before I actually, well, $5,000 I'll do it too, because I can use it for the diapers. I'm not going to do it. I just rewatched Troy yesterday night. I enjoyed it. This, I'm never going to rewatch ever again.
On their own, without getting carried away with just a huge crowd and a massive screen. But this hype is bizarre, because while the movie is doing well at the box office, it's not doing anything like astronomical that we haven't seen
Right.
before. Doctor
True.
Strange and the Multiverse of Madness came out and did 255 million. And that had some absolutely bizarre messages in it as well. Let's not forget that Wanda held an entire city of innocent people captive. And then Doctor Strange went, oh, don't worry, you're a woman. And so I knew everything would be fine. We're just going to let you off. It's essentially the same attitude that Christopher Nolan had with the lovers of the suitors, or as they're called in the translations, the Hawk. That's why I think it's interesting that we didn't get this narrative for Doctor Strange. There wasn't any multiverse of madness proved go woke, go broke is a myth. They didn't even try and spin that. Which means at the moment, either Hollywood is desperate, the tide is turning, things are rolling back, and so they're trying to galvanize around this. The fact that, no, you don't have to change to make money. Trust us, we've got an example for once. And there are...
Maybe, but you know what my take is? The elements. My take is that it is completely irrelevant to the Hollywood elites whether or not a movie is a commercial failure or not, because they have almost infinite money, they have budget, and the purpose of this is the messaging, just like the video games, just like with the other movies that we've been watching that have the message. If they can make money off of it, great. But if they can't make the money off of it, they don't care. Entire IPs have been destroyed. And try like Dragon Age, Veilguard, do you think anyone cared? They don't care. They just bankrupt, new name for the office, and let's start it all over again. And the reality is the message. The reality is that they, them, the pronouns, you're not supposed to do, but male and female, not acceptable. We change it into body type A and body type B. But when you say, no, what's wrong with male and female, then they tell you, why do you care so much? It's such a small thing. But if it is such a small thing, then why did you care enough to change it? It's the continuous nonsensical. It's gonna drive you mad. I personally don't think it matters to them whether it fails or not. And personally, I've got 70 videos on the Odyssey. Not once have I said this is gonna fail. So yeah, there are some people that said it's gonna make 100 million and they're gonna lose all the money that is probably near $500 million that they put, because it's 250 million, but they absolutely spent another 200 million for the advertisement alone. The people that were saying that were coping, they were just externalizing what they were hoping. I sympathize with, I wish that they lost their shirts. But do I believe that was going to happen? No. Because if Nolan made a movie about this lemon can of lemon, okay, for 3 hours in IMAX, people would go watch it. At least it would break even. That's the reality of it. And does it deserve to fail? Yes. But was I expecting it to fail? No, because I live in reality. Okay? And maybe you disagree. Maybe you don't think it deserves to fail. And I'm willing to listen to you. I'm not going to call you out, then you're woke. I'm not going to call you anything, because I'm kind of tired of people disregarding or undermining arguments that are valid or opinions that are valid with buzzwords. Oh, then you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a fascist. Fine, yeah, I'm a grifter, I accept it. I am a grifter. What about the arguments, though? Are we going to address them? And are we not going to address them? I'm going to watch Lemon Can, the movie. I might even give it a better review than I did for Nolan. I just gave him a like because I appreciated it. I'm not subscribed. I'm subscribed now. I thought I was. I think I subscribed with my second channel. There you go. So I enjoyed this. I'm not going to react to the whole thing because not every video can be an hour long. And lately my wife has been telling me, why is every video you're making an hour long? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, it just happens. I keep talking, and then I edit it, and I'm like, oh, damn, it's an hour and 45 minutes. I made a freaking movie. If you appreciate my content so far and wish to help ensure my ability to continue to tell it how it is, regardless of any possible backlash, please support this channel on Patreon. Any support helps me and my team of academics keep the channel strong and gives us the means to fight back against the political rewriting of history. Stand with us. Form the wall, defend the truth.